Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be covering a video about the product rule. Chain rule was the last video I made, I believe. And this is another rule in calculus, and regardless of whether you're in calculus AB or BC, this will apply to both cases, and it's a pretty essential rule. Luckily, it's a pretty easy one to grasp as well. So I'm going to show you here today. So let's say we have a function and we want to take the derivative of it. Let's say we have y is equal to, and you could write f of x instead if you want. And we're going to do 3x squared times, let's do something simple. Let's do, how about the natural log of x. So this is our function. Now, what the product rule does is it allows you to find the derivative of a function where you have two separate functions being multiplied. So can you find which two functions those are in this example? So I made it a bit obvious, but on the calculus exam or maybe a test by your calculus teacher, they may not make it so obvious by putting this symbol right here. So you have 3x squared as one of the functions and the natural log of x as the other. So what do we do in this case? Does it just multiply like we do with the addition rule? Does it work like that? It actually doesn't, and I'll show you right here. So let's say we have f of x. And this is equal to two functions being multiplied. Let's say it's g of x times h of x, why not? And so these two functions, they multiply and you get f of x, g of x, and h of x. So what if we wanted to find f prime? Sorry, that's not the best looking f prime. F prime of x. So this would actually be, and I'm just going to give you the rule straight, g of x, actually g prime of x, so the order doesn't actually matter. Well, it sort of does. Times h of x. And keep in mind that this one is the derivative of g of x, but this one is not the derivative of h of x. However, here we have the derivative of h of x with normal g of x. And due to one of the properties of addition, it doesn't matter which way you put them in however you find simplest. However, there is another rule which I'll probably make a video on soon. It's called the quotient rule, and there the order will matter because they're actually being subtracted. But in this case, this is the product rule. We're not going to worry about that just yet. And the quotient rule that's what it's called. When you divide two functions, let's say we had g of x over h of x, and so that formula is a bit more complicated, though it's not that much more. So if we're trying to find dy dx over here, how can we apply this formula? As I'm writing dy dx, you guys can think about it. You can pause the video if it takes a bit more time. So assuming that you've thought about it, we have 3x squared and ln of x. And I know I didn't cover what the derivative of ln of x, or sorry, natural log, what the natural log of x, what that derivative is. I know I didn't cover it anywhere, but it's actually a special one, 1 over x. And this is typically one to memorize. You'll know also what the derivative of a logarithmic function is. If you know that this is actually just a logarithmic function with base e. E is Euler's number. So 1 over x is the derivative of ln of x. So I'll just give that to you, and maybe that'll make it a bit easier to solve. So obviously we're going to have the plus sign. We're going to add two things. So g prime of x is going to be the derivative of 3x squared. Now, what's the derivative of 3x squared? So that's going to be 6x. And that's going to be multiplied with ln of x. Remember, we take the derivative of the first function, and we take the normal, the function, just the function itself. So we just take the natural log of x. For the next one, we do the opposite. We take the normal version of the initial function, and we take the derivative of the next function. So the derivative of ln x, the natural log of x, typically you want to call it the natural log of x, is 1 over x. So let's put that in there. And you can simplify it a little, though on the AP Calculus AV exam, unless you're actually solving for a value with this, you typically don't want to leave it, especially like in an FRQ or something. It'll buy you some time instead of just simplifying this, and the College Board graders will typically accept it, but for just simplicity's sake, because I want to make this applicable to a lot of cases, I will do the simplification. So it's just going to be 3x plus 3x, and you can like factor out x and do other weird things as necessary for whatever problem it is, but in general this will be acceptable in most cases. Maybe you'll need to put in a value and solve for that, but generally this should give you the answer. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and please leave a like in this video and share if you know anyone else who needs help with the product rule or is looking to learn a bit of calculus. Thanks for watching once again.